resilient, spontaneous, determined, fun, chaotic, caring, extroverted, persistent, visionary, creative, happy-go-lucky, smart, tough, scattered, generous, open, joyful, passionate, adventurous, loving. Alex Cooper, Xander Laser Ben Asher Varifka, was all of these adjectives and also so much more. It is with deep sadness that we are all here today to honor Alex, to mourn Alex, to celebrate who Alex was and all that he taught us during his lifetime. My name is Rachel Kobrin, and I'm the rabbi here in Denver at Rodef Shalom. About 8 months ago, Alex reached out and told me that he wanted to meet, that he needed a rabbi to help him walk through this stage of life, the transitions he knew were coming, the grief he was feeling. He introduced himself to me as Iron Man CEO. And he said that he had been to high holiday services and had heard my sermons and wanted me to be that rabbi that would accompany him on this journey. He said he hoped, even planned, that he would beat the odds of his cancer, but he also knew that it would eventually catch up to him. Alex gave me the gift of allowing me to get to know him and to learn from him. It was from Alex that I learned about persistence, the value of living each day to its fullest, entrepreneurship, athleticism, which I don't know really anything about. And most of all, I learned about Alex's love for all of you. For you, Beth, his beloved wife, and for his children, for Evan, for Jessica and her husband, Michael, for Ben and his wife, Samantha, and Molly and her husband, Tomer, and for his grandchildren, Noah, Ellie, and Theo, and for his extended family and his beloved friends. Alex built companies throughout his lifetime, but the relationships he built were his deepest pride and joy. Today, we will have the opportunity to hear from some of those people who loved Alex so dearly. We will also weave in Psalms and Jewish teachings, as is customary in a Jewish funeral, connecting Alex's life with the tradition of the Jewish people, a tradition that he held dear. It's often customary to begin a funeral with the words of Ecclesiastes. I often will read, in the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time and experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. Only the challenge is that this doesn't feel like the right time for losing. Alex was too young. And Alex had to do a lot of things at the same time. And so I'm struck right now in this moment by a poem that the Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai wrote, a response to that piece from Ecclesiastes. A man doesn't have time in his life. A man doesn't have time in his life to have time for everything. He doesn't have seasons enough to have a season for every purpose. Ecclesiastes was wrong about that. A man needs to love and to hate in the same moment, to laugh and to cry with the same eyes, with the same hands to throw stones and to gather them, to make love in war and war in love, and to hate and forgive and remember and forget, to arrange and confuse, to eat and to digest what history takes years and years to do. The psalmist also says, Esayin el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo ezri. Esayin el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo ezri. We sang that just this last week on Sunday as we sat with Alex. And the words of the psalm speak about when I feel hopeless, what do? I lift my eyes up to the mountains, and that's where I find help. And I know for Alex, going skiing and being in the mountains, that gave him life, that gave him renewed energy, that gave him purpose, that gave him a sense of spirituality and connection that only being outside and in nature could. And so when I think of those words, Esayin el harim, I think of Alex lifting his eyes up to the mountains and the many years that we have ahead to do that as well and to connect with the earth the way that he did. I want to invite Alex's loved ones to speak today. It's a privilege to get to hear their words, and we'll begin this morning with words from his beloved wife, Beth.
Even though I've known this day was coming, I still can't believe we're here honoring Alex's memory. When we moved to Denver to start our new life, we could not have imagined that we would find ourselves connected with such an amazing group of friends. Each one of you has made our life here so special, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the outpouring of love and support that you have shown us, especially during the past 18 months. It brought us such strength and helped us through our darkest days. I must acknowledge the newest member of our Denver family, Leonard Fury, Alex's beloved aide for the past 6 months. Leo, you brought so much joy to Alex's life at his most difficult time. You treated him with compassion, provided him with so much comfort, and always took his side when I tried to get him to slow down and rest. I know you had a tremendous impact on him because he spoke of you often during his last days. I am the luckiest woman in the world. I got to spend the last 22 years of my life with a man who loved me unconditionally, supported me endlessly, and pushed me to step outside my comfort zone and take risks. He was the love of my life and my best friend. Alex was so proud of the beautiful family that we built together. He was the most devoted husband, father, and grandfather. He was full of adventure and spontaneity, and our lives were full of excitement and laughter. As most of you know, there were not many dull moments in our marriage. Family dinners were a big part of the life we built together. They filled us with joy and happiness, especially at the large gatherings we would host celebrating the Jewish holidays, both here in Denver and in New Jersey. I was the designated cook, and we dubbed Alex the Rabbi. Alex was filled with so much pride as he explained the significance of the holidays that we celebrated. Our last gathering was especially meaningful to Alex as he was able to preside over the Passover Seder one last time with all of our children, grandchildren, and my sister and brother-in-law. It was very emotional for him, but it gave him the strength to keep fighting. Alex and I love dancing together, whether we were dancing at the Red Lion in New York City, listening to our favorite band, the Stingers, or at the numerous Bruce Springsteen concerts that I attended with him, often begrudgingly. Dancing was our way of letting go of everything and finding pure happiness. Dancing also played an important part of our life in the past 18 months. Each night after dinner, we would pick a song, dance, and escape together. Last Saturday, as Alex was transitioning, I picked myself up and went for a run. For some inexplicable reason, my normal playlist, which contained no Bruce Springsteen music, did not load. Instead, I found myself listening to a Bruce Springsteen playlist. I immediately became so relaxed, blissfully running and dancing to each song, which brought back so many beautiful memories of Alex. The past 18 months have certainly been the most challenging, but also the most fulfilling for both of us. Alex continued to set goals for himself and stopped at nothing to achieve them. In addition to completing several races, including the Colfax Half Marathon, which he ran with his radiation oncology team, he published his memoir. His illness did not stop him from inspiring people. Dr. Tim Waxweiler, his radiologist, sent me the following text after hearing that Alex passed away. I finished the book last night and his 10 keys resonated. I wrote the triple bypass and again thought of him doing his Cooper triangle. I'm sure he'll be inspiring me and plenty of others for years to come. Alex encouraged Dr. Waxweiler to participate in the Boulder Half Marathon. The day that he called to tell Alex that he completed the race was a particularly bad day for Alex, but true to form, the call lifted him up. His resilience is astounding to me in so many ways. When Alex first got diagnosed, we had no idea what to expect, but we continued to live life fully, traveling and spending time with family and friends. Even at the end of some of our worst days, we would just look at each other and laugh. I recall recently, after a particularly grueling day, I was helping Alex get ready for bed. At one point, he said to me, "Tell me when to sit down." And I told him, "You are already sitting down." And for some reason, we just looked at each other and laughed so hard, completely letting go of the angst that we'd been carrying. This happened a lot in the past 7 months. It certainly was the most challenging time in our marriage, but for us, it was so beautiful and fulfilling. Alex is so much a part of me, as I know I was a part of him. On my 61st birthday 2 weeks ago, I found myself running 6.1 miles. It wasn't something I planned on doing. It just happened spontaneously. Alex's influence for sure, except Alex would have biked at least 61 miles and ran and swam. I've also taken to losing things left and right, something that those of you know all too well about Alex. But I find myself smiling as I run through the checklist, keys, wallet, sunglasses, before I move on, because it reminds me of some hilarious and often frustrating moments with Alex. My father passed away 30 years ago, and yet I sometimes feel his presence. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I feel joyous, safe, and secure. This morning at 4:15, I was awoken by the beeping of the smoke alarm, informing me that the battery needed to be changed. I know that it was Alex telling me to go for a run and gather the strength for today. His voice echoing in my head reminded me, as he so often did, "Beth, you are so strong. You can do this." I was with Alex when he took his last breath. I kissed him and I told him how much I loved him. At that moment, a teardrop fell from his eye. And just like that, the pain and sorrow of the final weeks just washed away. What an incredible ending to a magnificent life. I know he, just like my father, will be with me forever, watching over me and protecting me.
Thank you so much. I want to invite Ben and Molly to come and share words as well. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Molly. This is my brother, Ben. We're Beth's children, and Alex was our stepfather for 20 years. As we gather here today, I'm reminded of the countless wonderful memories I shared with Alex, each one a tribute to the love and joy he brought into our lives. Here are just a few of my favorites. I remember very clearly my first memory of Alex. It was November 2002, and the second Harry Potter movie had just come out. It was going to be the first time Ben and I were allowed to go to the theaters alone. That is, if we could somehow get our hands on the coveted tickets. Don't forget, this was back in the day before Movie Phone and Fandango, when you actually had to go to the box office in advance, wait in line, and see what was left when it was finally your turn. But Alex did that for us, and did so before he even had met Ben and me. He knew it would mean so much to us, and therefore so much to our mom, and he did it without hesitating. When he came over to drop off the tickets, I swear I remember my mom telling me not to peek. But how could I resist? Checking out my mom's new boyfriend. I was a nosy 10-year-old after all. When I heard the mailbox clink closed, I ran to the window to look. I just got a glimpse of the back of Alex's head, but I can still see it clearly to this day as he walked back to his car. This memory of Alex is such a testament to how he treated my brother and I from day one. He embraced us as his own, showing us unwavering love, respect, and kindness, making us feel truly cherished as his stepchildren. One tradition that stands out from our big blended family is our annual summer vacations. And one memory in particular will always stick with me. We were on our way to Mount Tremblant, and true to Alex's style, we had all of the bikes loaded up on the back of the car. Out of nowhere, there was a loud bang, and we looked back to see Ben's bike tumbling down the highway. In his usual spirited and optimistic fashion, Alex took the nearest exit, circling back to try and find it, but the bike had vanished. But does this really surprise anyone? Flat tires, lost wallets, missing keys, vanishing bikes. It was all part of knowing and loving Alex, his unique charm of chaos mixed with excitement and passion. Alex had his own vibrant, carefree, enthusiastic way to life, and he never let moments like these get in the way. Me, a neurotic worrier at best, was always envious of Alex in that way. Even a bike falling off the highway and falling off the car in the middle of the highway didn't rattle him. I love my stepdad and the countless silly memories I have like these, but truthfully, we didn't always have that much in common. He loved the Mets, I liked the Yankees. He competed in Ironman and triathlons. I participated in movie marathons. We'd fight over Springsteen or Britney Spears on the radio. He spoke the Hebrew language while I lived in Israel for nearly 8 years and still struggled to understand it half as much as he did. But that brings me to a love that Alex and I shared over the last decade. If you had asked anyone which of us 4 kids would end up living in Israel, no one would have guessed me. But I did, and I married an Israeli, no less. And Alex loved it. We talk about the food, the people, unfortunately, sometimes the politics. I felt a deeper connection and stronger bond with Alex once I moved to Israel. He was my favorite person to share that experience with because I could see how proud he was to say his stepdaughter lived there. Israel almost felt like our special thing, and he was always so supportive of me in my journey there. Not only that, but Alex developed such a meaningful relationship with my husband, Tomer, who definitely
did get some bonus points for being Israeli. Homer still remembers the first time they met, and Alex greeted him with a booming "Shalom, shalom" in the Denver airport. Just like Ben and I, Alex treated Alex like a son from day one, because that's just the type of guy he was. He had an incredible ability to make anyone feel valued and at ease with a warmth and friendliness that touched the hearts of all who knew him. I'll now pass it over to Ben to say a few words.
The eighth principle of Alex's Iron CEO outlook is to cultivate gratitude. So I wanted to acknowledge reasons why I'm grateful that we've had Alex in our lives. So it's evident from everyone here today who traveled from far and near that Alex inspired people. And I have this in my speech, and my mom mentioned it too, how he inspired a member of his oncology team to run a triathlon. And for me and my sister, looking back, it's obvious that Alex inspired us to connect with our Judaism in our own way. As Molly noted, that led both of us to living in Israel, where she met Tomer and I met Samantha. I honestly think that were it not for Alex's influence, I likely wouldn't have found my way to Israel, Samantha, and Noah. And that's all to say that I'm grateful to Alex for his part in the incredible family that I have today. On that note, we also know that family has been a major motivator for Alex. Nothing crystallized this to me more in recent years than the unconditional love he had for my daughter, Noah, and what she had for him. Noah always looked forward to seeing Lexi, as she called him, and to play Happy Baby. He also unsurprisingly introduced her to Bruce Springsteen. The first song was Glory Days, and for weeks after, she demanded that we play the Lexi song on repeat in the car. And although it's challenging to explain to a 4-year-old that Lexi's no longer here physically, I'm incredibly grateful that Noah was able to form a long-lasting relationship with Alex, and I know it's something she'll cherish for her whole life.
I want to end with a very short excerpt from a meditation that's often read as part of Jewish morning rituals. To honor Alex, I'm going to read it in Hebrew. Bear with me, because I know he would have loved that, followed by the English translation. Chapsu oti ba'anashim she'akarti ve'ahavti. Ha'ava lo meta, anashim ken. Az im ma shenishar mimeni zot ahava, ani yachol lalechet. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, because love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, I can go.
Thank you. I want to invite Steve Goldberg to come share some words now.
I'm going to Jess, Evan, Ollie, Ben. I'm going to, Beth, of course, try to perform a little party trick here, which is I'm going to talk a little bit about longevity on a day when a life was all too short. Growing up, Alex and I went to different elementary schools. We went to different high schools. We went to different colleges. We went to different synagogues. We went to different summer camps. We played on different Little League teams. We didn't live in the same apartment building. Our moms were pretty friendly with each other, but they weren't really friends. We were never college roommates. We never shared an apartment. We never started a business together. Well, at least not a legal one. I'll tell you more about that later. We never took driver's ed together. We didn't study together. And as far as I can remember, except for each other's birthday parties, we never went to a party together in our entire lives. Anyway, we were inseparable. I mean, of course, we had other friendships, a few in the beginning, more in high school, more in college. But our early lives were so intertwined. It pretty much feels like I've lost my younger brother. It was cool to be remembered in Alex's book as the guy who taught him how to ride a bike, the guy who took him to his first baseball game or helped him choose a college. But in the end, the real end, it was way more important to be able to sit on my friend's hospice bed, hold his hand. Remember the weekend the corner bagel store opened in 1968? That's the real stuff. It's somehow more important. Sorry, I'll hold it together. You know, we had our stories, our experiences. We would still laugh about them 40 and 50 years later. They meant the world to him, to me. And if you indulge me, I'm just going to share some today for Alex. Sadly, these may be the last time anyone tells them. So we met each other on a playground in the late fall of 1965, or at least that's what our moms told us. Who knows? I just know that Alex was at my 5th birthday party in February of 1966, and he must have come from somewhere, so that's the start. At 7, we were these two little latchkey yeshiva kids in the neighborhood surrounded by public school kids. Those other kids got out of school a lot earlier than us. They played together. They formed the inevitable neighborhood alliances. But we got home so much later from our yeshivas. And anyway, we were just different enough to be rejected by the in crowd of 7-year-olds in the park. So we grew a lot closer to each other. Then things were sort of sealed by the Juan and Louis situation. So Juan and Louis were the sons of local building superintendents for no particular reason other than, you know, the casual racism of the 1960s. They were also a pair of odd ducks and ostracized by the neighborhood kids. So the 4 of us, these 2 loner Jews and these 2 loner Puerto Rican tough kids, were locked in a perpetual Sharks versus Jets reenactment. There was no Maria, there was no Tony, it was just us. If Juan and Louis were together and they saw Alex alone, they would beat the stuffing out of him. If Juan and Louis were together and they saw me alone, they'd beat the stuffing out of me. And if we saw either of them alone when we were together, we would do the same. So probably out of expedience, Alex and I stuck together like glue, and we grew even closer. I remember during these tense times, I would run the 50 yards between my basement and his lobby to avoid them, and Alex would do the exact same thing. We were cool. Walking around the hood without one another, it was like leaving the house without a winter coat, which of course Alex always did. It just was not done. Together we were strong and we were loyal, and you know what? We were Queens tough. So Alex had this backyard. It was small, it was misshapen, it had a fence that was made entirely out of giant splinters. But it was the best thing ever for 2 kids who were totally intimidated by our local park. It became a multi-purpose stadium. We made up unique versions of handball, basketball, and hockey, which to the day he died, we called the Lipschitz Grape Wine Hockey League, because every league needs a sponsor, so that's what we called it. We played for hours, raided his refrigerator, played for more hours, went over to my apartment and raided my refrigerator. We laughed hysterically at the stupidest things. Alex would convulse over the word ishkabibble. I would say it all the time just to make him laugh, see if I can make milk come out of his nose. And he had this pillow chair sort of thing that he called Mahitable the Sittable, and I laughed a lot. It's not funny, but it was hysterical then. You know, it was little boy stuff. He was a really sweet kid. Even then, I knew he was different. Back then, the concept of a single parent was basically unknown, and was also the tail end of the baby boom. So Alex was the only person I knew with only one parent, and who was an only child. And you know, kids ask questions about that stuff, and my mom and my dad took a lot of time to carefully explain some of the tragic stuff that had happened in Alex's life, some of the things that Susan had to go through. And even then, his situation, it kind of bestowed this combination of strength and vulnerability on him that was unique. Even then, I felt a little obligated to step up and watch out for him just a little bit more than normal. And that was an honor. When we were 8 or 9 years old, we began a years-long stickball tournament. It played out over literally hundreds of games. 2 equally matched nerds with a stickball bat and a pensy pinky in an existential battle to determine who was a better baseball player. Being older, I chose to pretend to be the mighty Yankees. And I really hope the dead forgive, but here's a fact about Super Mets fan Alex Cooper. 8-year-old Alex only very reluctantly agreed to be the Mets. He was not happy about it. But I was older, so he was the Mets and I was the Yankees, and that was that. Around 1971, the South Bronx being what it was, we couldn't go alone to Yankee games anyway. So we would go together to Mets games, sometimes by bicycle, and his fandom was cemented. Now, my brother loved the Yankees, and my best friend loved the Mets. So I just, decided to love them both. It felt good, But at age 11, Alex just rejected that out of hand. He simply could not wrap his arms around it. In fact, over the next half century, he regularly berated me for being a fan of both. It was part of our ritual. Even when we were sitting together watching the Mets instead of the Yankees on opening day, something we did a lot because, I did it for him, he would tease me and he would say he only tolerated my behavior out of loyalty to our friendship. He was teasing, but it did not stop him from giving me a long lecture about it on opening day 2022. It was April 8th, 2022, Alex's 60th birthday. I flew to Denver just for the purpose of taking him and Evan to the game as a birthday present. And he still lectured me. What a guy. I just love thinking about this, because mock disdain for my behavior was a key feature of our lives. And it's a reminder that lifelong relationships are the ones where you genuinely treasure being teased. And I'm going to miss those lectures. So, let's go Mets. By 12 years old, we were pirates. We were true rebels. We didn't smoke. We didn't drink. We didn't ditch school, but we had a bond of secrecy about our daring acts. No one knew that instead of going to get kosher pizza at the end of Pesach, we went to McDonald's on Austin Street and stuffed our faces with cheeseburgers. It was cool. We sat as far away from the window as possible, and we kept reassuring each other that, don't worry, if anybody comes in and sees us, what the hell are they doing at McDonald's? No one knew that we would routinely tell both our moms that we were going to play stickball, and then we would ride our bikes all the way down Queens Boulevard and illegally weave through all the ridiculous traffic on the 59th Street Bridge just so we could zip around Central Park once and come home to lie to our moms about our great stickball game. No one knew that we had both perfected the art of opening the doors of parked cars with a broken umbrella rib. Now, here's the thing. We never actually stole anything, but for yeshiva kids, we felt pretty cool. And that's not all. We bowled endlessly. We always took like extra practice frames. You were supposed to take one. We would take three. We biked in places that had giant no trespassing signs on top of each other. We went to Jan's ice cream, which Alex loved, and we pretended it was one of our birthdays to get a free sundae that we didn't deserve. So here's the thing, aside from our acts of, petty and pretty much victimless crime, which made us feel really good, we ate buckets of lemon ice king at Corona. We watched our first rock concert together at Carnegie Hall. We sweated over our bar mitzvah parshas, and ultimately we became entrepreneurs. When our bikes were stolen due to an incredible act of naivete and stupidity, which you can read about in Alex's book, our parents had absolutely no money to solve our problems. So off we went to the local Waldbaum supermarket, and we stood there every Wednesday and Thursday night through a short autumn and a very, very long and very cold winter, carrying bags of groceries to cars for a nickel or a dime, once in a while a quarter, but that was pretty rare, until we had mutually saved $200, which we split up so we could buy our new rides. Even then, Alex showed an entrepreneurial streak. I would go up to people and I would ask them, can I take your bags? And, hope to get some money. Alex would just pick up the bags and say, I'll get these for you, and then stick his hand out. He was just unstoppable. He made most of the money. I got the nicer bike. Anyway, by 16, we moved on to our greatest adventure together, which was scalping tickets at the US Tennis Open in Forest Hills. There was no Tickets Master back then. Tennis wasn't that big a deal. So on the day the tickets were released, we would just walk over to the stadium and invest every penny we had in a big wad of tickets. So one year we're walking home and I handed Alex our stack of tickets to hold, which basically represented all the money we both had and all the money we were both going to make. Decades later, we would still both laugh, as you will probably laugh right now, at the absolute stupidity of giving Alex all the tickets that we had to hold on to. I mean, yeah, he's my business partner. He was my best friend. We loved each other. But he was also a guy who needed to have his mittens pinned to his sleeves. And he was also a guy who kept the key to his apartment on a shoestring around his neck. And we were in high school, So we get to Queens Boulevard, and today the stretch we had to choose, and I'm not making this up, is called the Boulevard of Death, a place where cars come around a curve so fast that if you walk versus run, you're essentially doomed. So we ran. And of course, Alex drops every single one of the tickets. And we're standing there watching a year of our savings swirling around in the wake of speeding cars and scattering all over the boulevard of death. And Alex, who, was really optimistic core, just mutters, yeesh, and does nothing. It's a little hard to tell you this on a day like today, but I basically said to him, you're picking up every one of those tickets. So I just stood there for a half an hour watching him run around, avoiding cars on the boulevard of death, me cursing, him apologizing. He was tenacious. I really wasn't mad at him. I pretended to be mad at him for decades, just for the fun of it. He knew it. I knew it. A couple of months ago, I still pretended to be mad, which cracked us both up. But in fact, we never got mad at one another. There were a million borderline pitches, a million check swings, fair balls, foul balls, Yankees, Mets, maybe goals, maybe not goals. Who was faster riding our bicycle way too high speed, at a way too high speed on the wrong way down a one-way street? It was a tie. Who was better at backyard hockey? Me. Basketball, him. Handball, inconclusive. Through all that, we never came to blows. We never screamed at each other. It was just a grand competition for two best friends. The YMHA, softball at Russell Stage, it was joyous. And in high school for 2 years, we battled each other once a week, every single week, in ping pong at the local pool hall. It was best of 7, you had to win by 2. They were epic matches that left us drenched in sweat. I have absolutely no idea who won, even one of them. We didn't care, and I don't care now. And we didn't care then. We just loved the time together. And we loved the time after the games where we would sit around and talk about everything under the sun, including our conflicting views about religion, our conflicting views about politics, girls. As we got closer and older, we just celebrated each other's good times. He was so proud when I got into Columbia. I really loved how much he loved Vassar. We had these summer jobs on the same street one year. Me at NBC, he was at Time Warner. I prized the fact that he had free access to the commissary because it was really good. And he was astounded that I could get tickets to SNL. The thing is, there was just never a moment of jealousy. We were amazed to be college graduates. Of course, we went to each other's graduation, and we were totally excited about each other's first apartments and each other's first lives and jobs. And we still played baseball together, Saturday and Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday in parks all around New York. And we complimented each other like 7-year-olds. Him telling me I made a great catch if I did or if I didn't. Me telling him he was really fast, which he really wasn't. To one another, we just became little boys inside of little men. And that sweetness never went away. In 2016, Alex got tickets to a Bruce Springsteen concert for us. On the way, I said to him, how much do I owe you for the tickets? He just handed me a copy of the set list from his very first Bruce Springsteen concert, which I took him to, at Princeton's Jadwin Gym in 1978. He put his arm around me and he said, now we're even. Can you imagine? We would go back to Lemon Ice King well into our 50s, just go and say we're having a taste of our past. He gave me a stickball back for my 60th birthday. Just 2 weeks ago, we laughed at the stupidity of me getting arrested and him almost getting arrested. He looked up at me and he said, you took the rap for me. I'll never forget it. And he meant it. It's hard for most people, even children or spouses, to always understand that a 60-year-old, athletic, entrepreneurial, self-assured family man was also once just a little kid with an average curveball. But he once was that kid. And no matter what, to me, he's always going to be that kid, as well as the man he was. It's a giant honor to be able to tell you about him back then. I'm going to miss the kid. I'm going to miss the man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Beautiful. I want to invite Sam to share some words as well. So a friend of the family.
Great story, Steve. Really good. I'm honored to be here today and to share this difficult time, but also to celebrate this life. I met Alex about 20 years ago via his bill pay company, IPP. We played multiple roles in our professional interactions: customer, vendor, partner, investor, advisor, but the constant was friend. We became friends and mutual smart Alex from day one. As you're all aware, and Steve discussed a lot, to know Alex was to know he was a passionate fan of baseball in general and the Mets in particular. He knew every game, every player, and every stat. His knowledge was endless. It didn't take long for him to discover that his new friend was also a Braves fan, an Atlanta Braves fan, providing much grist for the mill. Be it the miracle Mets sweep of the Braves in '69 or the epic Game 6 win in 1999 that sent the Braves to the World Series, the rivalry was a constant in our friendship. And yet his generosity shined through when he showed up to watch and celebrate the Braves series clinching win with us in the 2021 World Series. And let's face it, what really cemented our friendship was our mutual hatred of the Philadelphia Phillies, the St. Louis Cardinals, the New York Yankees, and Tom Brady. It was that mix of intensity, passion, knowledge, and generosity infused with his sense of humor that guided his professional and personal paths. The same focus and determination that made him a success as a scrawny kid on the baseball field, or gave him the moxie to ride his bike across the Queensboro Bridge, apparently many times, as a 10-year-old, would fire his entrepreneurial spirit and his success as a triathlete. As the child of a single mother of modest means, he was also a realist. He tamed his risk-taking and ADHD by becoming process-driven, even if it meant keys, wallet, phone, right? And becoming process-driven and creating the framework to channel his natural energy. He was crackling smart, and he knew it, and he harnessed it to the benefit of family and others. He shared his knowledge as a mentor and on social media. The Iron CEO was the perfect fusion of his personal and professional vision. His move to Denver strengthened our friendship and our families became intertwined. Beth and my wife, Carol, grew close and our kids became friends. We spent much family time together, whether it was our Latkapalooza Hanukkah parties, tasty high holiday meals thanks to Beth, or long dinners yakking politics, sports, or just sharing personal lives. And while I wasn't part of Alex's 100-mile bike club or his triple black diamond ski posse, many of the members who are here today, or the triathlon world, he was always willing to share plenty of mellow days on the slopes or hiking in the hills. When he was diagnosed with cancer, he was determined to live every moment as he had lived his life, to the fullest with passion and energy. His exploits inspired us all, including his caregivers, some who actually joined him on the marathon and wrote him up in the Anschutz newsletter. Though he was always rooted in Judaism, his endless curiosity led him to other strains of thought, be it Stoicism or Buddhism, that helped him carry on during this period. He was living life on his own terms and providing an example for those who would follow. And then there was a new race, his final triathlon, if you will, an act of endurance so profound that it could be called his finest hour. He took on writing the story of his life and really the story of his parents and how they survived the fires of the Shoah and those whose fleeting life together produced but one child before his father succumbed to the disease that his mother also bravely fought, as would her son. He drafted, redrafted, and edited his memoir, a testament to his life, and most importantly, a testament to his mother, who raised him alone on a manicurist's earnings in the heart of Queens, surrounded by other refugees seeking to forget and create a better life. It was her struggle and her triumphs that Alex so tenderly rendered and honored in his memoir. Her efforts were acts of endurance that infused him with strength that would provide his own capacity for endurance. This was his final race, a mighty gift for those he loved, for Evan, for Jesse, for Ben, for Molly, and for little Theo, Ella, Noah, and his dear Beth. He lived life by his own rules. He respected the process that gave him the discipline to succeed, whether in the boardroom or on the pavement. And he had the determination and the courage to finish what he started. Appropriately, I heard of his passing on a trade show floor in Las Vegas. My first thought was, should I go home? And then I heard his very practical voice saying, what good would that do right now? Finish the show and get the job done. As I arrived at the airport to come home the next day, Rod Stewart's Forever Young was playing on the PA. May that be how we remember Alex. Forever strong, forever giving, and forever young.
Thank you so much. And finally, Evan and Jesse.
Hi, everyone. Thank y'all for being here today. If you're here, it's because you loved our dad, and he loved you. Jess and I have some words we want to share. Before we get into our speech, we want to take a moment to acknowledge a few items we have here with us today. Our dad never had the privilege of knowing his father, let alone being raised by him or sharing all the beautiful moments that Jesse and I have had with ours. So to honor that, we have a few tokens of the fathers in our lineage who are no longer here with us today. First is Isidore, a gift that Ernest Cooper, our grandfather, gave to our grandmother, Susan Cooper, in 1961. Our dad read from this book at every holiday for our entire lives. Next is a watch from our other grandfather on our mother's side, Henry Strauss. Grandpa was, by all accounts, the closest thing our dad had to a father, and they remained close until the end of Grandpa's life. Dad wore this watch and kept it with him during both his surgeries and throughout his fight against cancer, and has had it until now. Finally, I have my dad's tallis. Dad's relationship to Judaism, and especially to Jewish people, was a central tenet of his life and something he shared with those he loved. Through these tokens and all of your love, he's here with us now. As many of you have pointed out, our dad always had a tendency to lose and forget things, sometimes spectacularly so. There were minor incidents, like credit cards and wallets and glasses. There were slightly grander ones, like ski boots that never made it into the car before a big ski day. Phones that we thought were long gone, only to be found days later, at the end of a trip in his laptop bag, or an hour later, inexplicably, under the tire of someone else's parked car. There were car keys. So many car keys. The one that stood out the most was the one that left him, Jess, and I taxiing home from the airport following a ski trip to Jackson, when the keys never made it with us, only for Beth to come get the car with him later. That's the last time Dad ever held on to the car keys. If you knew our dad, you probably have a story like this, obviously. It could be, to be sure, frustrating, but I've come to develop a theory as to why this was always happening. If you knew our dad, these are all very small things, small details and items that in the grand scheme of life didn't much matter. Our dad's mind was instead always focused on the big stuff. When it came to the things that mattered, like showing up with his family, or checking in on friends, colleagues, mentees, building his business, or the color of flowers that his wife liked, to name just a few things, he was not one to forget. For the things that mattered, he was there. And so maybe he just didn't have the space left to sweat the little things. That's the way I finally came to look at it anyway. If you're here, you knew our dad. You have stories of your own, and you probably know a good deal about him, either through shared experiences or stories he shared with you. He had a lot of them. So I don't want to tell you those things today. We want to tell you the things he left to us, to me, and to Jesse. I'll start with Jesse. One of the things our dad taught Jess was patience. That may come as a very big surprise to most of you. Patient is not a word you'd likely use to describe our father. Instead, she learned this through having to wait for him repeatedly to start every ride, And eventually, as she got faster than him in Ironman, but wait, she did at every finish line. He showed her confidence and how to believe in herself, taking her on group rides with his cycling group in New Jersey when she did not think she was ready, showing her not only that she was ready to ride with the big girls and guys, but that she could do anything she decided she could. If you've read Dad's book, you'll know that one of his principles is that you are who you believe you are. With this self-belief, Jess went on not only to complete an Ironman with virtually zero training, but 7 more since. She followed in Dad's footsteps and went into sales, excelling at every turn and becoming a sales director. One thing Jess is still learning from him, even now, is how to make everyone around you feel like family. What's become evident since his passing is how he shared his love with everyone in his life. Since his passing, we've been getting messages from every day from people, many of them in this room, who knew him. The most apparent thing is that everyone felt like he was family. This is something we will both take with us and try to do for the rest of our lives. Of all the things our father imparted on me, above all was a joy for life. A determination, stubborn at times, to enjoy every damn minute of it. When I think of my dad, I always come back to the same line from the same Bruce Springsteen song, Badlands. Bruce is another thing my dad taught me about life, something he made sure I would love forever. He also taught me that Darkness on the Edge of Town is the best Bruce album, and I won't hear any arguments to the contrary. The line goes, "It ain't no sin to be glad you're alive." I sent this line and this song to my dad many, many times over the years. We had a ritual of sending each other a Springsteen lyric via text for the other to complete. It was usually unprompted, just a funny little way of saying, "I'm thinking of you." But Badlands is the song that has always reminded me of him the most. It's the song I played every day this week. That one line represents the core of who my dad was as a person. The son of 2 Holocaust survivors, raised by a loving but sturdy single mother who had been through more hardship than anyone should endure. The odds that he would exist at all, let alone go on to bring life into this world and touch every person here today, were at best pretty long. The universe had dealt them both a pretty tough hand. But as my dad told me on more than one occasion, the best revenge is living well. He did more than just tell me that, though. He showed me how. In the years following my parents' separation, both my dad and mom did what I come to appreciate as one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. They compromised over and over and over again. They put Jess and I first. They took the best parts of themselves and gave that to us, sharing the world with us through travel, splitting the seasons so that each have the parts they both liked. Summer and beach in Europe for mom, winter in the mountains, and biking and skiing for dad. Above all, they gave us their time and their love. We split and sometimes doubled holidays. We rarely went to a sports game without a parent in the stands. At hockey games in particular, Dad was always in my corner. I mean that quite literally. I was a goalie, and my dad took to standing apart from all the other parents, in the corner, on whatever side of the ice I was on at the time. Occasionally, during long stoppages, I get to chat with him through the glass. These are some of the first memories I have of him giving me advice, as I was finally old enough to truly hear what he was saying. More often than not, the message was to control what I could control and to forget the rest. As a goalie, that advice is pretty literal. After all, until a puck is hurtling toward you, most of what is going on is in someone else's hands. As I've grown older, that message is applied to far, far more of my life. It has become a mantra for me and has served me very well in all that I do. When I was about 12, my dad met Beth. Beth had 2 kids of her own, Ben and Molly, who were the same age as Jess and I, kind of 2/3 of a Brady bunch. The 2 of them brought us all together to create a home, to grow our family. Like us, Ben and Molly were splitting time between the house we all shared and their father's house. But our parents made sure we had countless shared experiences and the opportunity to develop real bonds, ones we cherish today. The work they put into that gave us double the family, a gift we will have forever. By no means was this a given, but their determination to put family and joy first yielded fruit, and we sit here together as one big family. This is where I need to pause and turn my attention to you, Beth. We have to thank you for everything you've done in the past 1.5 years, for our dad, for me, for Jesse, for everyone here. The sacrifices you made and the strength you've shown are immeasurable, and we truly did not know how we'd gotten through this without you. You were the rock through all of this, and you made the final 1.5 years of Dad's life better than anyone else on earth could have. We'll be eternally grateful to you for that. Anyway, if you're listening, Dad, You can tell the Mets it's okay to finally win another World Series, at least in our lifetime. And don't worry, we have the car keys. We love you, Dad. Thanks.
Now I know why I felt such a connection to him, because I'm also always losing my car keys. So I'm gonna speak and share a eulogy that I wrote, and there'll be some repetitive themes. I invite you to just sort of take it in and allow it to wash over you as we remember Alex together. Alex Cooper was born on April 8th, 1962 in New York City. Both of his parents survived the Holocaust, and Alex was raised with deep survivor instincts well into his DNA. He was raised in Queens by a single mom. He never had the opportunity to know his dad, who had died when he was only 4 months old. His mom worked really hard as a manicurist to raise her son and keep food on the table. Alex went to yeshiva for his first 12 years, cementing his deep Jewish connection. He and his mom didn't have a lot of family. When Alex was a kid, his mom got cancer and he moved in with another family for 4 months as she had treatments and went into recovery. He learned from an early age what it meant to deal with adversity and sickness and how to cultivate fortitude. As a kid, Alex liked to ride bikes and play stickball with his buddy, Steve Goldberg. He used to go to shul and Shabbat, and then he'd go over to the salon and get everyone lunch and make some pocket money and tips. After high school, Alex went on to Vassar College, which he truly loved. He was enamored by computer science and by the art of coding. And he was thrilled to find a major in cognitive science, which combined various interests and was also a brand new discipline. While at Vassar, Alex learned a lot in the classroom. But as he asserted, he learned his best learning. He took on most of his learning through his extracurriculars, including starting Vassar's very first baseball team. After college, Alex got married and started a family. He worked at various jobs in New York, but his heart was in being an entrepreneur. Alex and his friend Steve started a software company called Bizware. This was the first of 3 companies he would come to create. Bizware became a very successful company, a Fortune 500 company, and he was able to sell it when the time was right. He then went on to build his second company, IPP. While building companies, Alex was also building his family. And in 1990, Evan was born, and then Jesse was born in 1992. Alex and his family moved to New Jersey and bought a house, and cycling became a big part of his life. And by the mid-90s, he was biking to work every day. On 9/11, Alex was in his office, working at the building next door to the World Trade Center. He saw the after effects of the plane hitting the second tower. After being so close to that nightmare, Alex raised money for the Tunnel to Tower Foundation to help victims' families. Jesse, you said that your dad was the best dad ever. He was there for everything. You said that he loved skiing and biking. He really wanted us to play baseball and softball, and he would always take us. And hockey. He loved hockey. Evan, you shared that when you were a teen, you remember how your dad would do a big cycling ride for the American Cancer Society every year. And then you started doing it with him. And then Jesse, you did it with him as well. Jesse and Evan, you both shared how much you appreciated the way that your father approached the reality of divorce. How you always had time with both sides of the family and the shared family. How he never moved far away. As you said, family was so important to him. Seeing us every couple of days was his priority. After his divorce, Alex decided to learn to ski, and he took everyone along for this learning adventure. He fell in love with the sport, and his kids enjoyed many ski adventures with him. He grew to love uphill skiing and adventure skiing as well. Jesse and Evan, you said he worked really hard and was an entrepreneur, but when he was home, it was all about us. Alex was an extrovert, and he loved people, especially his people, all of you. He also loved meeting new people and was never afraid to start a conversation with anybody. Through doing this, he attracted many friends, people who just loved to be with him. In 2002, Alex made his most important introduction. He went on the first date with a woman who would change the rest of his life. He met his soulmate, Beth. Alex and Beth were set up by a mutual friend, and they had a blind date at a coffee shop. Alex said that he fell in love with Beth from the first moment that he met her. Then he went on up to pay for his coffee and for her coffee, and the song She's the One, which was by Alex's favorite musician, Bruce Springsteen, came right on the coffee house speakers. And Alex said, "It hit me like a bolt of lightning. Bruce, I think you're right. She's the one." Beth and Alex were very sensitive and mindful about not introducing and involving the kids in their relationship until it was right. And when it was, they went on their first family outing, which was bowling together in Hackensack. Beth and Alex dated for 2.5 years, and then they got married in March of 2005 in a beautiful wedding with all 4 kids holding the chuppah. Alex loved cars from a very early age. As a kid, he could tell the make and the model of a car by just looking at their headlights on the highway. When Beth and Alex combined their families, Alex made the ultimate car lover statement when he traded in his Audi, his beloved car, for a Honda Pilot, which could fit everybody in it. Cool car for bigger family car. All 4 kids spoke joyfully about annual summer family trips. They rotated between going to the beach and to the mountains. There were so many wonderful trips. And the kids particularly remember one time when they were staying near Lake Placid, and Alex stopped the car on the road after coming back from dinner. It was his way to always appreciate every moment of life, to take in the moment, to live the day to its fullest. And that included taking the time to get out of the car when it was nighttime and see the stars. But he was so disappointed because when he parked that car, nobody else in the family wanted to get out. Alex became momentarily angry, which was memorable, really memorable, because it was so rare for Alex to be angry. He just wasn't a person who connected with the concept of anger as an emotion. He never held a grudge. Even in these last months, when I met with him, I would sometimes say, "It's okay, Alex, to be angry." And he would say to me, "I'm not angry. I'm really sad. I'm grieving, but I'm not angry." Alex and his family loved to play games. The kids remember that they had a professional poker kit and they would play Texas Hold'em. And they loved to play a boggle before bed and even played it here in Denver. Family dinners at nice restaurants in the city and holiday meals at home were a huge value for Alex. He loved to play Rabbi, as was discussed at holidays, and he would start out the meal with a little sermon where he would share his wisdom about the state of the world or the state of the country or his family. Alex and Beth were married for 19 remarkable years. Beth, as you said, we blended 2 families and it wasn't always easy. We really worked at it, really grew into each other. We built this beautiful life together where we learned to communicate and grow and build together. and get through hard times. It was the happiest time of my life. We were both survivors and fighters. Alex was so much fun and so full of life, and we had so much fun together. Beth shared that moving to Colorado was the best thing that she and Alex ever did. Together, they wanted a new adventure, and as a biker and a skier, Alex had set his heart on Colorado. It became clear to Alex that something wasn't right with his health in November of 2022. And he told Beth that he was going to get checked out. Beth, you noticed something wasn't right as well. There were little things, like he would be driving and he would put on the brakes when there was a green light, things that he never did before. Alex struggled to get into a doctor here in Denver quickly, so he went to New York to meet with a neurologist. As Alex told me, they were scheduled to go on a dream vacation, he and Beth, together to Belize in January, to a place that they loved. They planned to stay in this place that they had been before, and nothing could ruin that. Alex needed to get an MRI before the trip, and although he actually received the devastating results from the test before they got on the flight, he made the decision not to tell Beth. He wanted her to have one last blissful vacation, one last joyful vacation with him before being overwhelmed by the fear. The second Alex and Beth got home, he told her the results of the MRI, and together they forged a new path forward. Alex and Beth figured out how to do that, how to forge that new path, with Alex taking the lead, moving through the despair to a mindset of cultivating gratitude and joy. He insisted on finding the bright side. Alex and Beth traveled together. They did a vow renewal. Nothing was left unsaid. Even in the darkness, Beth, you and Alex held on to that light so tight, and you let it shine for others to see. Some days you were happy just being together, sitting and watching TV, and you mentioned that he even took on some of your reality TV shows. You found laughter every day, as you said, and you danced. You picked a new song each night, a slow song, a fast song, always, always a love song, and you held each other and you danced. Judaism was ingrained in Alex. His belief changed dramatically over his life, but his connection to his people, to his history, to his Jewish tribe, it remained steady. He enjoyed exploring philosophy and spirituality. He believed that we humans have free will, that we live in a complex world with mistakes and illness and joy and tragedy and simple luck, and that the human condition can be hard. But our challenge in life is to create meaning even when those moments are unbearable. Alex cared deeply about people, about the world, and about the betterment of society, and about Israel, about helping people who were in need. His later companies and work even focused on helping those who needed assistance. He loved mentoring people, including his most recent mentee, Samuel, who was starting a company called One Purse. He loved sharing his knowledge and experience and using it to help others. This was one of his key reasons that he chose to write his book, The Courage to Finish What You Started, from startups to Ironman to fighting cancer. It's a book that shares his story and his wisdom in the hope of helping everybody else. Alex started a brand and a website, as we know, Iron CEO. And when he first went out to write his book, he planned to focus on the 7 key principles of his Ironman mindset. They are, number 1, live life to the fullest. Number 2, keep moving, AKA the Cooper rule. Number 3, own the narrative. Number 4, stay in the moment. Number 5, develop resilience. Number 6, be consistent. And number 7, build confidence, i.e., everything you have done has led you to this moment. But then, once he began writing, he realized there were 3 more that were also instrumental. Number 8, cultivate gratitude. Number 9, find balance. And number 10, make meaning. A eulogy for Alex would not be complete without mentioning the Iron Man, the Iron CEO's triathlons. Alex decided to do his first one when he was in his first Ironman in Atlantic City in 2014. He got a coach and he trained for a year. And then Evan and Jesse and Beth, you all came out and you cheered him on and you ran the last leg of that race with him. Jesse, you decided to train and to join your dad in his Ironman adventures. In your first race, you got ahead of him when you swam because you're a faster swimmer than him. But then, as you said, you slowed down and waited to bike with him, and then you ran together. Jesse, you remembered that you wouldn't let your dad slow down. He wanted to walk at times during that race, and you said, no, we can't walk. And so he got his best time ever because he finished with you holding hands. In his lifetime, Alex started and completed 80 races and 10 Ironman races. As he often said, it's making the decision to start something that is often the biggest hurdle. But that's the beautiful challenge and opportunity in life, to choose to start and to see something to its completion. Sometimes the course will be different than expected, but having the courage to start and move forward to the end elevates the entire journey. The year of COVID, all Ironman races had been canceled. And so Alex created his own race here in Denver. He made his own course and everyone came out and took turns running with him. Beth, Alex's last race was September 11th, 2022, right before his diagnosis. You stood out there in the pouring rain like a devoted wife for 17 hours, pouring rain. Never a doubt in your mind or in his mind that he would finish. In his book, Alex writes that he would finish every Ironman with a huge win. Beth, you would kiss him at the end of the race, and then he would raise his hands and flash that gigantic Ironman smile as he ran through the finish line. Finishes were important to him, but it was how he did the race that was really the core of who Alex was. Alex writes, of course, there's a lot to be said about big finishes, whether they come in the form of glory or sacrifice. But I'm not going to presume that my finish needs to be glorious or that it represents some noble sacrifice. I'm more interested in how I've lived. To me, the true lies in just starting something and seeing where it takes me. I have never met anyone who ended up exactly where they planned to go in life. Unexpected twists and turns always crop up. What matters is what you get out of it. And sometimes it's best not to plan too much, to let the journey take you along. As I said on the day of my last Ironman race, we never know what day we'll have triumph. We also never know which day will be our last. We're all guilty at times of moving too fast and not taking the time to examine or appreciate what we have. But it's showing up more than anything else that determines our life's path and legacy. On Sunday afternoon, Beth, Evan, Jesse, and I sat with Alex. We sang together and we recited the Vidui, the final prayers that are said before one leaves the world. It was our way of running that final lap with him, of escorting him to the finish line. Alex, you said that your life, your finish didn't need to be triumphant, but it was. You created companies, you created a family, friendships, ideas. You created meaning. You didn't have enough years, but you lived your life so well. You taught your people how to cherish their days, how to persist, how to be present, how to adapt, how to shift when necessary, how to have the courage to start, the resilience to meet each day with joy, and the stamina to finish. You loved deeply and fully. You had a bright spirit, and you created an enduring legacy. And that, my friend, will live on. Zichrono livracha. Alex Cooper's memory will be a shining blessing. I want to invite Jeff to come forward and sing Psalm 23, which is commonly sung in a funeral. The melody that he'll be using is one that is often sung on Shabbat, and then I imagine Alex heard through his childhood. We sing this at a funeral because we are reminded that even in the days that feel so hard, so tough, that there will be joy again, that we will live again. It's really a psalm that was written thousands of years ago to remind us to hold on to life, to hold on to the goodness. And that is a message that Alex taught us with each and every one of his days.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo exar, binot asher yarbitzeni, amne menuchot yanchileni. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni b'magale tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'getz hamavet lo yirara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan ta'aroch lefanai shulchan ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorara. Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Kosi Rabaya. Achto v'chesed, Yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, Yavashavti v'shavti b'veit Adonai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim.
I'll invite us to rise for El Malei Rachamim, the memorial. Salt of compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Alex Cooper, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in a bond of life. May he rest in peace. So we are going to turn now to Mourner's Kaddish. There's a custom of saying Mourner's Kaddish at the graveside, but since Alex's burial will not be until next week and it will be in New Jersey, we're going to say it here, and that will lead us into this coming week and lead us into the family's opportunity to say it at the graveside as well. So I think you guys have, great. So we'll turn to Mourner's Kaddish. I invite all who would like to join us. There's also the opportunity to say the response line and to say amen. And I like to think about that response line and the amens as a way of really saying, I'm here, I'm present, and I support you. This is a prayer that has ancient roots. And each time it's said, there's sort of a rhythm that the prayer takes on. But we say it in community because we need community to be here for us. That was something that Alex knew. He loved his community, his people so much. And so as we're saying amen, especially to the family, what we're really saying is that we're here for you and that we're here to support you in these coming days, weeks, and months. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shmei Rabbi. Be'alma divrach yurte v'yamlich malchute b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach leolam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Aseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You can be seated, and I think that somebody.
The family would like to let everyone know about Shiva. It will be happening at the home of Betsy and David Cohen. We have Shiva sheets available in the foyer. The address is 105 Harrison Street in Denver. Oops, sorry, 501. Following the service until 5 p.m. Thank you guys for joining. This concludes our service.